Hello, my lovelies. Welcome to Key Wisdom Tarot. My name is Ruth. I am your Reiki master and teacher, and today we're going to look at, in detail, retrograde season 2020. Now, for those of you that know, retrograde season began on the 25th of April. With Pluto going retrograde in Capricorn, and that's a lovely transit, as everyone who's a Capricorn will know. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about each of the individual transits, as we go on throughout the video. But I thought the first and most important point I want to look at today is, what is retrograde season? Why do people think about it and talk about it as an intense time period, for example, and then we'll look at each of the individual transits or each of the individual retros in turn, so the planets, the dates that they're going to happen, and the possible impact that you may feel during that time period. Okay, so first of all, retrograde season. Well, this is the first thing. I was just making a sandwich actually, and I was talking about this video out loud like I always do, and what came to my head was retrograde season is an illusion, literally, because it is. The retrograde season is when a planet's in retrograde, a planet appears to be moving backwards in the sky, and the reason why is because planets, as you know, have an elliptical orbit. So during the retrograde, or during the planets appearing to be going backwards or in retrograde motion, the planet is actually closer to the Earth than usual. So that's why it appears to be going backwards, though it isn't. So the first thing we need to take from that is that, one, the planets are actually closer to the Earth physically, because of their elliptical orbit. And then second, it's not ordinary. So they move quite differently, obviously, during retrograde period. They move quite differently to what they would usually do. So that is why I think we interpret it as a difficult time. Now let's just take that one step further and let's think about the shadow aspect, because I think that that's something else, another reason why potentially collectively we interpret retrograde season as intense or difficult and challenging. So I'm talking about the shadow aspect. Again, it's about going backwards. So obviously we associate backwards with past, what's behind us, what's cast, if you will, what's in our wake, if you will. So what's left behind us. And this idea, if you will, the shadow aspect, the wake of things, it's linked, because I like to go there, it's linked always to mindfulness as well, and our mindfulness practice. And it's linked, again, I always talk to you guys about the Tibetan Book of the Dead, or the liberation of hearing in the intermediate states, and the intermediate states being the different dimensions that people talk about. And it's literally the different, how well we can engage with the fullness of our reality. And therefore, the shadow aspect, if you will, in the Tibetan Book of the Dead is linked to the maturing engagement with certain levels or different levels of our existence, or different dimensions of our existence, or different dimensions of our reality. But we're thinking about the shadow aspect. So we're thinking about the energy that it takes to learn, the energy that it takes to become aware, the energy that it takes us to wake up to realise, to recognise that we've learned, that we've grown, that we've moved on. So with those three things in mind then, when we think about retrograde season, with those three things in mind, so the planets, many planets during retrograde season, it's not just one, it's about 6 or 7 over the next 6 weeks. So many planets appear to be closer to the Earth during retrograde season. This is also not ordinary. It's out of the ordinary. So the planets are moving differently because on the elliptical orbit. Therefore, we interpret it as more intense, but also at this time period, we also link that and associate that with our increasing and maturing engagement and awareness with different aspects, new aspects of our reality, things that we're coming into awareness about. And this is why retrograde season is a blessing. Because actually, what we get to engage with during this time is all the things that you have been learning, is all the progress you have been making. And that includes revisiting all the things that you have released and let go of and already gotten over. And now you're sat there like during retrograde going, do you know what? I thought I was over him. I thought I was over that. I thought I was past that. You are past it. You are over it. You did release it. That was not an illusion. What is an illusion now is that you or that we doubt that. This is where the daily pulse that I recorded on Monday, this is where it's so significant, because the hidden energy, if you will, in that card, the hidden message, if you will, for us was the Seven of Wands. And that was about holding on to what you already learned. Even in this time period when it's intense, when we feel like we're thrown back to where we've been, that's just an illusion. Remember, we feel as if we've been thrown backwards, as if, oh my gosh, it's just as tiring. Oh my gosh, I'm no further along. Oh my gosh, I'm not closer to healing. I'm not closer to releasing. You've got to remember that the reason you're feeling that way is it's to try to engage your resolve. It's to try to click into that strength. It's so that you can identify within your body now, within your mind now, within your heart space now, the new wisdom that you have gained this year. That is what retrograde season is about. Every year it's about that. And especially this year, but every year it's about it. So yes, it might feel intense to you, but the intensity, remember these planets are closer to us, literally, physically. The intensity is there to switch on, if you will, to switch on your antennae to the, oh my gosh, this is the new strength that I gained. This is really a time for you to see for real the learning, the wisdom, the healing that you've gone through. But it appears to you from where you're standing, to us from where we're standing on Earth, it appears that we're no further on, but we are. This is a time the universe is giving us to remind us, to show us, to prove to us how far we've come. So now is when we dig deep, okay? Now is when where we find that resolve, where we locate that new wisdom, because it's within you now. And the universe is giving you an opportunity to find it. Okay, so now let's look at each of the retrograde transits in turn. So we start, retrograde season started on the 25th of April, actually, with Pluto going retrograde in Capricorn. So the planet of Pluto, we still refer to it as a planet just for these instances. So the planet of Pluto really is about influence. It's about influence in lots of different ways. So let's think about that first of all. So influence when it comes to how what we do, what we say influences other people. That's also why the planet's related to politicians and propagandists and orators, speakers. It's also related to those people as well, specifically. It's also related to our will to exercise our personal power. So it's about what we are doing and what results that brings for us, if you will. So what we're doing, how we're applying ourselves, and what we want to do, and how we want to apply ourselves. Okay, so it's linked to those aspects of self. So the ability to influence by the things that we say, by the things that we do, the ability to exercise our personal power, the ability to persuade almost also, I suppose, our higher learning, higher power, and our divine feminine aspects as well. So that's all the non-physical sides of yourself. So your dreams, your memories, your emotions, etc. All of those things are related to the planet of Pluto, and then the sign of Capricorn. So I'm a Capricorn, as many Key Wisdom viewers know, because I tell you every time I pop up in the readings. And Capricorn is an earth sign, and it's related to focus on self, focus on personal power as well, focus on commitment, focus on the sense of reality. So the input and the output, what I input, this is what I output. If I put in a lot of hard work, this is what I get out of it. Now, obviously, when the planet is retrograde, so Pluto's retrograde in Spain, I don't know why I said Spain. When Pluto's retrograde in Capricorn, what it means is that we're looking at the shadow of that side, of those aspects. So what that means is we're looking at the work that it takes, the effort that it takes to understand how powerful I am, what results I'll get if I put this action in. How can I be clearer about what I want to say? How can I get people to agree with me or to think as I do? How can I bring people on board? So we're thinking about the effort that it takes to reach that level of understanding and awareness in how we apply ourselves. It's all about how you are applying yourself and what that brings into your life. So your ability to create, your ability to speak clearly, your ability to work hard, your ability to love, whatever it is, it's all about the things that you actually do in order to bring about the results, in order to influence, if you will, because it's Pluto, in order to influence your circumstances, your surroundings, and your security. So during this time when Pluto is actually in retrograde, we may be feeling weakened, ironically, because this is about our strength. Ultimately, this is, Pluto in Capricorn is a when it's direct, is a real source of strength for us. We really feel like powerful. We really feel like we can create. We really feel like we can do. We feel like we know what we want to do. But when it's in retrograde, we question that. We think, oh, am I doing the right thing? Am I saying the right thing? Is this right? Is this accurate? Am I doing the right things? You question that. But again, remember that the illusion of retrograde season, the illusion of what's actually going on from where we stand, it's actually helping us to connect with the learning that we've already been on. So we're meant to be thinking and feeling weakened maybe right now, but it's in order that we can connect with, actually, yes, I do know that if I do this, I get this outcome. And actually, I have learned that if I say this, I get this outcome. And saying this and doing this is also relates to on a personal level. So how you speak to yourself, how you engage with yourself, how you reflect on your behavior, how you reflect on your actions. So all of those things we're going to be thinking about and we're going to be concerned about with Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. Okay, just a quick note about the true node or the north node that goes this retrograde on the 5th of May. Now, just quickly to say that the node, the true node or the north node, is where we are headed. That's where we are going. That's where we perceive that we want to go. So obviously, if it's in retrograde, again, we are questioning the effort that it's going to take to get there and whether or not it is I'm going in the right direction. So again, you might be thinking, you might be assessing, am I doing the right thing? Is this the right thing? Is this the right place that I want? Is this the right area that I want to go into? Is this the right relationship? Whatever it is for you, you might be questioning the direction of your life, the very, the decisions that you've made. You might be questioning those, during retrograde season. Again, it's so that you can find that resolve. That is what retrograde season is all about. It's all about being able to convince yourself, yes, that I am doing the right thing, even though it is hard, even though it is intense, even though it is going to take me a long time, even though it has been difficult. You question yourself. You're all right. It's okay to question yourself. It's okay that you feel maybe defeated, because that in that moment, you are meant to again connect with the truth, which is, I do know where I'm going. I do know what I want. I do know where I want to be, etc. And I do know what that's going to take. And I'm willing to do that. And I'm able to do that. And I've got the strength and the wisdom to do that. Okay, so Saturn Retro in Aquarius, that happens on the 11th. So yeah, man, they're hitting us thick and fast this year. And Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. And it's a strict planet, Capricorn. I call Saturn really, and I know Saturn very well, I call Saturn really the planet of lessons. It's a planet of, consolidation, perseverance, caution, seriousness, or reserve, and also, the things that we have to do in order to learn lessons, the sacrifices that we have to make really in order to really learn lessons, in order to learn lifelong lessons. So think about it, Capricorn's card, if you will, in the tarot is the devil energy. And I always talk about that card as being the slavish commitment to our responsibilities that actually teaches us, leads us to salvation, if you will, leads us to the truth of who we are and of what we need to do and of what we want to do. So that's Saturn, the Saturn of lessons, of strict lessons, of and as I said, the sacrifices needed that are necessary sometimes to learn those lessons. And that's an interesting, I suppose, concept right now in the year of 2020. And that's happening in Aquarius. So Aquarius is an earth sign, so it's all about the thoughts, the minds, the clarity, the consciousness, the communication, so the application of our mental self, our mental acuity, our ability to observe, our ability to plan, our ability to be adaptable, also, what might happen, having this sort of, again, this knowing, if you will, of what's going to happen, of what will come, etc. So, we refer to that as expectancy, really, knowing that something's going to happen without knowing how you know that. And that's what Aquarians have, they have that skill, really, of knowing what's going to happen. And of completely doubting that as well, by the way. They don't trust where that comes from. But it's true. Anyway, so the two of those together then, so Saturn retrograde in Aquarius, so it's going backwards. So again, it's about, and you're going to think, she's repeating herself here. But isn't it interesting, the subtleties of the energies and the speed, really, that we go at, or the speed that the universe goes at in order for us to learn, and in order for us to heal, and in order for us to grow, and in order for us to gain wisdom. I think people sometimes think, because of these books about, law of attraction, I think people think that it's easier. There's these online gurus and they tell you how to live right and how to change your life, and people think that they can go on a course and their life will be changed. No, inspiration is great, and they're all sources of inspiration, and they're all basically a great place to start your journey. But your journey is always a long one, a long one, and it's one that we commit to. It's one that we must commit to. And so we understand with Saturn, as I understand it with Saturn as well, because, as I said, because I'm a Capricorn, with Saturn you have this energy of, show me what you've learned. Show me that you now do know. Show me that sunk in, that cycle of learning actually sunk in. Show me. And because it's retrograde, we again are questioning this. We again are questioning, the path that we've been walking, whether or not it's been doing us any good, whether or not it's been helping us. I'm trying to just find something that I read earlier, which was just so well put, and really about how astrology, really, how we should really look at it, how we should really view it. Is it a science? Let me just read it. I found it here. Astrology does not offer an explanation of the laws of the universe, nor why the universe exists. What it does, to put it in the simplest terms, is to show us that there is a correspondence between the macrocosm and the microcosm. In short, that there is a rhythm to the universe, and that man's own life partakes of this rhythm. So the influences of astrology, as I always say, affects us all, regardless if we watch Key Wisdom Tarot or not. And during retrograde season, the interesting thing is that more people are awake or aware or noticing some of the things that I'm talking about today. Am I doing the right thing? Have I learned the right lesson? Things aren't getting any better. I thought I'd released this. I thought I got over this. We're all thinking about those things and grappling with those things. But at this time, you should be connecting with the resolve that you have gained, the lessons that you have learned. And those lessons should come through loudly and clearly as this time progresses. And especially as you get to, as I said, after the 11th, especially as we get to this specific transit of Saturn retrograde in Aquarius, it's going to start coming through to you loud and clear that these are the things that I've learned. But we have to, the acuteness of the sort of fear almost, that we feel, the destabilization that you may be feeling, right at the beginning of it, of May. As May continues, as the 11th rolls by, you're going to get the opportunity to start to remember some of these lessons, to start to connect some of the dots, and to start to see for yourself how far you've come. But you're the one who has to do the looking. You're the one who has to do the reflection. You're the one who has to think about all this and contemplate all this. And, really, it is the perfect time, isn't it? Let's face it, during April, May 2020. Okay, 2 days later, the one that you've all been waiting for. No, not Mercury, but Venus. Okay, so Venus retrograde in Gemini. So interestingly, isn't it? Interesting, actually, because Gemini is a lover's card in the tarot, and Venus is the planet of love, ruled by Taurus and linked to Libra also. But Venus really, yes, is the planet of love. We all know the myth. I mean, I'm going to read that classical myth. I've got a dictionary of classical mythology, so for my delectation, so I'll read that. Actually, I'll find Venus and read all about Venus. Anyway, but yeah, the planet is about art and attraction and love and a sense of harmony and beauty. Sweetness. Sweet things, the things that are lovely, really, in life. The things that are lovely in life, and the people that are lovely in life, and the things that we love in life. And Gemini, because it is, that sign, it is linked to Mercury, actually, which is, and again, it's an earth sign, isn't it, Gemini? So again, it's about the engagement with our mental acuity and our mental clarity, on our focus. But it's also got it uses an interesting word in the book the old book that I use, one of superficiality. But I really think that's about, I don't really think it's about superficiality personally. I think it's about appearances and about how things appear and about the value that we place on things because of how they look, because of how they appear. And I'm having a moment of revelation as I say that actually out loud, because I plan a little bit for these things. I write a list, but I don't really have to write down all the bits and bobs about all the planets. But yeah, when I'm saying this, I'm thinking, yeah, man, I've had some of this. I'm feeling the effects of Venus retrograde in Gemini already. I'm already feeling it, because this time it's interesting because you're thinking about, listen, I'm not going into me. I'm just saying that, yeah, I'm having a revelation as I record this for you guys. But yeah, it makes me think of, because it's not me, us, retrograde, during retrograde season. So at this time, we're going to be thinking about our love lessons, if you will. And let's think of it on a personal level, first of all. So the things, self-love, how I love myself, how I show myself love, how accepting I am of myself and of my experiences and of where I've been and of where I came from, how accepting of all of those aspects of myself am I, and how does that affect the ability to love myself, first of all, and then to love others, second of all. So when it's in retrograde, we're thinking about the effort that it took. So you forgave, your mum and dad for divorcing. I always use that example. Or you forgave, your ex-boyfriend or your ex-girlfriend for cheating on you, or your ex-wife or your ex-husband. You forgave them a long time ago. But you're thinking, have I really forgiven them right now? Or do I really, am I really over that right now? And yes, you are, just because these things come into your mind at this time, it doesn't mean anything. We interpret that sometimes. We think about somebody, or we think about a past love, or we think about a difficult relationship with a sibling or with a friend, and it's in our minds at this time. And so we then interpret that, which I always urge not to do, but we then interpret that and say, oh, that must mean that I still have guilt, or that must mean that I still have desire, or that must mean that I still haven't gotten over it. It doesn't mean that. And it's fine if your mind goes there. Just notice that your mind's going there, creating that link. Your mind is creating that link. But the thought in itself, the memory in itself is not an indication of anything beyond the fact that we are meant to be thinking about these things at this time, simply because Venus is retrograde in Gemini. So we're thinking about our experiences in love, and that comes from, as I said, our ability to love ourselves, but also our ability to accept our experiences, accept what's happened. Do we appreciate, do we recognize the value in the past things that have happened? Again, it's about showing how far we have come. When I was planning this video a few days ago, I really had a really clear analogy in my mind that I wanted to share with you, and I'm going to share it with you now. Retrograde season is like seeing the grass grow. It's like the grass grows every single day, but we don't really notice it every single day. It's only after a certain length of time that we see, oh my gosh, the grass has grown. But every single day it grows a tiny little bit every day. And that is like you. And Mercury retrograde is that time when we can stand back and see that the grass has grown. So even though what you're feeling is the shadow, you're feeling the shadow of, oh my gosh, that's so painful, that growth. It's really painful. It was really tiring, that growth. That's what you're feeling. And that's why not you necessarily, but that's what the zeitgeist, if you will, experiences collectively. We experience this tiredness, or this weight, or this intensity. But actually all we're doing is actually noticing that we have grown during retrograde season, we get to stand back and see that the grass has grown. And that goes for you and how you love and how you love yourself and how you accept love and how you forgive and how you show compassion to yourself and to others and how you're honest with yourself about your experiences, because that is love. You know, truth equals love equals freedom, or freedom equals truth equals love, which we was talking about in one of my daily pulses. So this is what the transit, this retrograde transit of Venus retrograde in, I don't even know the planet, Gemini, Venus retrograde in Gemini on the 13th. So the grass has grown and you're just seeing it. But what you're feeling, is, I'm sure how the grass feels every day, having to strain up every day, tiny incremental changes. You're just feeling the effort that you've put in up until this point. Okay, so the final transit we're going to look at in this video is the last retrograde transit in the month of May, and that is Jupiter retrograde in Capricorn. So we've spoken about Capricorn and, you know, the ability to create security and stability by the effort that we put in, by the work that we do. That sort of direct sort of relationship or direct correlation between our input and our output, or what we do and the results that we get. So that's Capricorn, and that sort of dedication and focus and commitment to that. And Jupiter is so interesting because Jupiter is like the opposite. Like, they're both feminine, you know, they're both water, they're both like, so Capricorn is ruled by the divine feminine, it's a divine feminine sign, and Jupiter is linked to water through Pisces. It's related to Pisces, but it's very interesting. So what it relates to, the planet of Jupiter, is our expansion and our enlightenment. So our higher learning, if you will. I've been talking a lot about our higher learning and our higher self in the daily pulses recently. Our aspirations also, but our moral aspirations and our religious aspirations and our spiritual aspirations, our personal development aspirations, if you will. It's also related to our wealth, actually, is Jupiter, and also securing our wealth. Looking for ways to create wealth, if you will, looking for ways to create and secure our wealth. You know, it's also related to, Jupiter is also related to the law, to harmony and balance. So it's interesting, isn't it? Because there's a real beautiful connection. You know, there would be a nice connection really between Capricorn and Jupiter, because even though there's elements of sort of, I don't know, vagueness in a sense. It's not as solid in a sense as Capricorn. But it's because it's aspirational, you can understand why Capricorn and Jupiter might be quite nice fellows together. They'd be quite hand in hand. But again, we're in retrograde season. I'm not going to repeat myself because you know what I'm going to say to you. You know that it's about connecting with your resolve. It's about remembering the lessons that you've learned. It's about going over in that space. So, you know, your beliefs, your perspective, your spirituality, your sense of self, sense of who you are, the sense of your reality, also the sense of what you think you can do, what you think you can achieve, your moral sort of compass, if you will. All governed by this transit. So we're sort of, yes, contemplative. We're contemplating, you know, am I doing the right thing to secure my wealth? But also, am I doing the right things that feed my spiritual self, that feed my higher self, that feed my higher learning? Is what I'm doing now feeding my higher self? Is what I'm doing now feeding my higher learning? Is what I'm doing now stabilizing and shoring up my higher learning and my higher wisdom and my spiritual wisdom? So this is what the type of questions that we're contemplating, the type of things that we're that we're looking at with this transit when Jupiter's retrograde in Capricorn. So we really, it's quite interesting because it just indicates this, doesn't it? It indicates a routine, a sense of routine. What I mean by that is, it might be that actually, and I'm going to make a prediction here, not that I've done that today, I'm just describing, but I might make a prediction here because I'm inclined to right now. It kind of tells me that you're going to be looking at your routines, how you are feeding your quote unquote spiritual side, how you are feeding your how you are supporting your spiritual growth, your personal development. And over the lockdown period, we know that a lot we're on our own, or we've got a lot less distraction. Well, even though I'm not one of those people that've got kids homeschooling and all that stuff, but we still have a lot of time for self-reflection over this time. I hope we do. And there's this element of routine, I feel, that's going to come in now. This is going to be something you're going to be starting to think about, I think, as May rolls around, as May rumbles on, and as June rolls around, you're going to be thinking about, well, I do need that 10 minutes in the morning, just to give myself, to center myself, or I need to just do a little bit of meditation, or I'm going to focus on reading this book, or I'm going to focus on doing this exercise, or whatever it is. And I really feel like that's something really, really positive that comes out of the transit between Jupiter retrograde and Capricorn. The fact that you can firm up some of your, some of those subtle lessons that you've been learning about how to feed your spiritual side, how to feed your spiritual self, and how to really establish some real routines, really, that can actually go on to help to improve your fortune, your health, your sense of well-being going forward. So that's a real positive positive transit, isn't it? I just wanted to end really with just another quote for you guys from that book that I was reading earlier. And you can find this book on my Instagram. I'll post so you can see it. But I thought it was important, really, just to read this to you. And I will be doing a separate video about Mercury retrograde. There's a couple more planets going retrograde in November, so I'll do a separate video, in November, in June. So that's Neptune. I was thinking Mercury and Neptune. So I'll do a little video about Mercury retrograde, because Mercury retrograde happens 3 times a year. So this is the second Mercury retrograde that we have had. But I just wanted to end on this quote, and it's called the quote's it's written by Henry Miller, from the foreword to, it says in here, Henry Miller, from the foreword to Henry Miller, His World of Urania by Sydney Omar. I'll put that on. You'll be able to see that on when you watch this. This is the quote. It is not to discover what is going to happen to us. It is not to foretell the blows of fate that we should look to our horoscope. A chart, when properly read, should enable one to understand the overall pattern of one's life. It should make a man more aware of the fact that his own life obeys the same rhythmical, cyclical laws as do other natural phenomena. It should prepare him to welcome change, constant change, and to understand that there is no good or bad, but always the two together in changing degrees. And that out of what is seemingly bad can come good, and vice versa. Astrology might indeed be called a science of relating, whose first fruit is the dictum that fate is character. I just thought that was a beautiful quote when I read it earlier, and I just wanted to share that with you. So please, I encourage you to remember that during this time period. I want you to stay safe, I want you to stay well, look after yourselves, and I will see you all again very soon on Key Wisdom Tarot with your brand new readings. Take care, my darlings. Bye.